In 1967, Roy Bates from Southend took charge of an old wartime sea fort 8 miles off the Essex coast. He made it his own country. Sealand was born. Disputed as an independent state by the UK, Sealand has its own stamps, its own flag, and even its own passports. 5 years ago, I was invited to film there for the BBC.
There are 2 ways onto Sealand, either by the air or by the water. If you come by boat, the only way then is up.
I was feeling kind of seasick.
Then, last summer, disaster. A fire ripped through the structure. Was this the end of Sealand? Roy Bates and his wife Joan don't live on Sealand anymore. It's run by their son Michael. He's a cockle fisherman in Leigh-on-Sea near Southend, as well as being the Prince of Sealand.
It was absolutely soul destroying. It really was heartbreaking. And when we first got back on there, it was unbelievable. I mean, the damage, everything black, and not just that. I mean, smoke and water go through everything. You know, it's even like yards and yards away from the heart of the fire. It was you know, just blackened and unpleasant and horrible. I must admit, I thought the heat would have buckled the steelwork. There was a tremendous amount of heat there. I'm quite surprised it survived. But then, having said that, it was designed to withstand the impact from shells and bombs and all sorts of things.
The last time I was at Harwich, I think, was the journey that we made to Sealand more than 5 years ago. And I remember leaving thinking, what was Sealand going to be like? You know, this old wartime sea fort that had been turned into a country that's now been in existence for around 40 years. And I think it's quite sad that there was a fire on board, and it feels strange that it's going to look very different compared to last time we were there. But there's a band of people who are very determined to make sure the future of Sealand continues. Building work starts today.
To get to Sealand, you can go by helicopter, but it's cheaper and, of course, rougher by boat. It takes an hour and a half. Then it's up and away.
This all seems rather familiar. Going up again, it's just like last time we came to Sealand. Same winch in place, hanging over the North Sea.
Years of work literally went up in smoke. A lot of the structure was damaged. News of the fire came as a huge shock to Sealand's very own royal family.
So my father's 85 years old, and the first thing he wanted to do was come back and get involved with, you know, sorting out all the damage and even getting back on there, because we had to get people there lifted off and everything. And I mean, everybody wanted to keep it going and support it, so we did.
And this is where the fire started, the 2 main generator unit for the whole of Sealand. And there was 1 person trapped on board, and I think they were down that end of the structure. Must have been absolutely petrifying, because the heat of this fire was threatening to explode some gas cylinders that are kept on board by the generators. And just look at the mess it's left. There's a hole here, and there are several holes like this throughout the whole structure that go down to the North Sea, so you've got to be careful where you put your feet. It's a hell of a mess, and there's loads of work to do.
We've just had a clear out, basically. It's a blank canvas. All this equipment, as you can see, it's beautiful, lovely old Gardner engines. They're old, out of date, inefficient, and we're now moving ahead. And Sealand has got to go forward with wind energy and smaller generators and much more efficient generators.
So has this kind of wiped the slate clean for you?
Yes, absolutely. We're going to start again and do it properly.
This is really eerie. We're on the top deck of Sealand, and it's really fire damaged. There's some wire hanging down everywhere. There's scarring from where the fires come through here. And there's so much work to be done. To look at it, you think, where do you start? But the people of Sealand say they want to rebuild it. They have such spirit and determination, and they're going to make sure they turn her back into what she was before. I just don't know where they're going to start, really.
The essential services that the crew depend on and the essential industries here depend on, I intend to have completed this summer while we have the weather window. The further modifications, I'd like to say that by this time next year, I will have completed all the works that I need to do here. But the essentials will be done this summer.
Luckily for them, the modest accommodation on Sealand was mainly undamaged. But as you descend further, sadly, that's not the case. I've come to the very bottom of the structure of Sealand, which is also at the bottom of the North Sea, and you can hear it just outside the leg. Now, when the fire broke out, some water ships pumped several thousand gallons of water at the fire, and it's come to rest here in the very bottom of the leg. And the problem now is getting that out.
Quick toast to the future of Sealand.
Despite all this, they're optimistic. Alcohol is usually banned here, but the Sealanders invited me to toast their future.
Sealand.
Sealand.
Well, when you go abroad, you have to get up early. Going back to Sealand, it's 5 in the morning on a very cold November morning. It's several months since we were last there. Now, the reason we're going so early is because at the moment the sea is flat calm, but by lunchtime the wind's going to get up. So we need to get the filming done this morning and then get back, otherwise we're then trapped on Sealand. That's one of the problems of being so far out to sea. You're completely reliant on the weather.
Well, the first thing was to make the living quarters for the crew habitable and comfortable, and I think we've succeeded in doing that. We fully rewired, we started decorating, we've pumped a hell of a lot of water out, and we've disposed of pretty much all the debris from the fire, which was the hardest thing.
Now, this is much different. Last time we were here, this was very burnt out. The guys have managed to get it all painted. There are new windows on the outside of Sealand. There's new wiring. The old generators have gone, and they've been replaced by a new one. The generator also runs the secret business side of things on Sealand. Hidden in the other leg are computer servers. I could look, but not film them. I think it takes a certain type of person to live or work on Sealand, who are either mad or a visionary. But they've been here 40 years, and they say they're going to keep expanding the island. So the message from Sealand is, watch this space. And as I mentioned earlier, Sealand could be yours. It seems they've been doing it up to put it up for sale. Offers in the region of a mere £65 million.